Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another Hit in the Turnbuckle podcast, my fifth podcast in the last 24 hours. You can see that my resident host, Andy, is not available this evening. Once again, he's delivering beer to the nation, and if you are British or anywhere in the United Kingdom, you know that if he doesn't deliver beer to the nation, there will be riots on the streets of England. So in that case, I have brought along for his very first guest interview, the man who I was talking to not 2 hours ago when was doing our AEW review. He is my AEW guru, but now known as Dynamite Man Dave, DMD. Dave, welcome back.
Hey, mate. You okay? Double bubble today, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Overtime.
Yeah, exactly. But tonight we are joined by a very special guest this evening, someone who was in the WWE NXT and was a tag team champion in the NXT with Mark Andrews, was also an attack champion, both, and 24/7 champion, I believe, in there before the 24/7 champion was in the WWE. He was the King of Flight champion. He was a Rev Pro Undisputed British Cruiserweight Championship. There was loads of championships he's been on here, and he's now also still wrestling, and he's also a trainer. Please welcome Flash Morgan Webster. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me. Really excited about this.
No, thanks for coming on. Flash, let's just start. British wrestling in general right now is probably going through a massive boom again. Pre-pandemic. We do our bit. We sponsor some of the wrestling companies. Actually, we've got one in Wales, funny enough, Pro Wrestling Carnage, that we sponsor. And we also sponsor the tag team champions over there, Beers and Beatdowns. We have done since the start of the year. And we also sponsor Ignite Wrestling Pro, who we're putting on a show with in July. Buckle up. We just announced some talent today. What's your feelings on how the British wrestling independent scene is going on the last couple of years?
Of course, after the pandemic and everything that happened during the pandemic, felt like there was a little lull coming out of that.
Sure.
There was promotions that hadn't been able to come back. There was ones that were still finding their feet. People, of course, had left. People were done with wrestling. So I think there was a little bit of a lull period. The talent I still felt was there, and I feel like the fans were still there, but some of that trust was broken. But I think over the last 12 months, I want to say 18 months, I think that's really kind of ramped up, and that's really started to kind of pick up again. I think people are realizing that undercurrent of talent is there, and not just it is really, really good as well. And I think that those people that were unsure about coming back to watching British wrestling, not only are coming back, but they're coming back and realizing just how strong the younger talent is.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, we went to a show on Sunday. We went to Ignite Wrestling Pro just because with me, we're announcing Buckle Up and all sorts. And some of the talent there, we had the Ignite owner on yesterday, CJ Khan. We were saying that we wouldn't be surprised if some of that talent that was there yesterday was called up to, say, for example, a Progress or even NXT. It was amazing to see this talent. Like, there was one in particular, a guy called Harrison Lee, that just looked like he had it all. He was 6'6", 230. Maybe I didn't necessarily like the gimmicks. I mean, but I'm not a wrestling scout. I by no means know what anyone would look for. But there was people like that, and there was other people there that just looked like they had it. Obviously, you worked a little bit. You worked for a while in NXT UK. Was there a bit around that where people thought they were going to kill the independent market when they come out?
In what way? What do you mean?
As in that there wouldn't be hardly any independents left because NXT UK would have taken over the UK scene.
No, I don't think that was ever something that we thought about or we thought would be the case. We just saw it as the natural progression and where it would go next. And we always believed there was a good undercurrent of talent that were ready to step up and then keep on moving up and keep on moving up. And I know that a lot of us, like when we were there, like Eddie Dennis, Mark Andrews, Wild Boar, Danny Luna, Danny Jones, we'd all get together and we'd be watching Progress on demand, and we'd be watching ICW, and we'd be watching Rev Pro. Even when we were signed, we were still watching them because we wanted to see people kill it. And we were watching Ojmo, we were watching Connor Mills, and we were watching Ricky Knight Jr. and watching these people coming up and absolutely smashing it, Brendan White and stuff like that. So I don't think we ever thought that there wouldn't be a scene. We just thought that the scene would continue to be what it is, but then there would be an actual natural progression, stepping stone. Because again, I think that when you're on the top of a scene, there is money to be made. And I was a professional wrestler before I signed with WWE. Yeah. But I think that there are a few people that make a very good living at the top of the scene, and then you got the middle undercurrent that make, okay, they get by, and then a lot of people then are struggling. They're fighting for bits. They're not getting a good wage. There's not as many people buying merchandise from them. So I think to have those people who are at the top be able to get picked up and go off to WWE where they can make a lot more money, and then these people here can move up there and they can move up. I think that we all thought that was a really good kind of circle of life. You get there and you go to NXT UK and then you go to NXT and then you go to Raw, SmackDown and so on and so on. Or you go here and then you go to AEW or you go to Ring of Honor. We just thought that there was a lot of people at the top of the scene that were ready to move on because they'd been there for 8-10 years, and then there was an undercurrent ready to step up. We just thought that that's how it would be.
Sure. Dave, over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch flash on your exit from WWE. Obviously, there's rumors about NXT Europe. Is that something that you would be interested in if that is launched? Would you be interested in going back to the WWE and working with NXT Europe talent?
Again, it all depends on, like in wrestling, you never say never, because again, I'm going to say tonight, hey, I'd never go back there, and then something I can't turn down, or like God forbid I get hurt and then they come along and offer me a coaching job, or like I decide that okay, maybe I don't want to be doing this as much and they offer me, I don't know, a writing job or something like that, or they come to me and they offer me 3 or 4 times what I was making before and they go, come here. Like again, you've got to look at it objectively and go, okay, what do I want from wrestling financially? What do I need? What do I need like to be happy in wrestling, and does this conflict with what I'm doing already? So again, right now, I can't say that I'm here itching and waiting and begging for NXT Europe to come back, because what I'm doing at the moment is like I'm at a training school right now. I just finished 2 classes back to back. I'm really enjoying it. I really found a love of teaching and coaching. I'm having a lot of fun doing stuff with Mark Andrews on the indies. We had a great the other day at 1PW, and we got loads of other cool stuff coming up and stuff like that. So again, I'm not itching for it. I am really enjoying what I'm doing right now, but if something came along, I would obviously consider whatever was being offered me, but it would have to be the right deal.
Yeah. And we'll touch upon that. You're touching on 1PW because we were talking, you were saying about independents that had gone away and come back. 1PW was just that. And they looked like they had an amazing show. We had one of our other colleagues, Fiona, was doing some of the chauffeuring for some of the wrestlers there that weekend. I think she was Lance Archer, people like that. She was sort of driving around. What was that like going back to sort of like a 1PW, somewhere where they'd had issues before, it had closed, and had come back, and they drew about what, 4,000 people there?
I'm not quite sure the number, but it was a lot. It was a lot of people there. But in regards to like when I started, 1PW was already gone.
Yeah.
But when I was discovering British wrestling, when I was discovering independent wrestling, the Wrestling Channel was a thing.
Yeah.
And W was on the Wrestling Channel. So I knew about this, and I saw all these stars come over, your AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels. I'm a big Christopher. And I remember seeing these people on these British shows and these packed out arenas and being like, this is British wrestling. My God. Of course, by the time I came in, FWA was gone. Yeah. 1PW was gone, and the scene was very, very different. But yeah, to see it come back, and not only come back, but come back with a vengeance, and it feels like it's hit the ground running and it's building momentum. It's getting bigger and it's getting better. So yeah, it's great. It's back. It's exciting. And again, I'm never someone who thinks that I want to see one place succeed. I want to see everyone. So like the saying is, isn't it, that high tides lift all ships. So again, that's really that it does that.
That was the analogy, Dave, that you used earlier on when we was talking about AEW coming over to the UK and going into All In. We were saying that was the exact analogy, Dave, that you used. But with the sort of likes of WWE, AEW coming over, selling loads of tickets, do you think that will be putting more eyes on the British wrestling scene as well?
Yeah, well, again, when you spoke about NXT UK and you're like, what did we want from it? I guess that is the analogy. We thought high tides would lift all ships. And we thought, well, if you're being introduced to these British wrestlers, but you have to go to London to watch it, maybe you go, oh, what other British wrestlers are out there? Because let's be honest, when the United Kingdom Championship tournament happened, that's where initially the big boom came from. People started seeing a Tyler Bates and a Pete Dunne and a Trent Seven and going, wait a second, I can see these on a Progress. I can see these at Attack, Catay's Community Centre. I can see these at Fight Club Pro. There were so many people places up and down the country where you could see these WWE WWE stars. So again, I guess that's what we hoped would happen. And I guess you hope that again, that maybe with WWE coming over and AEW, maybe some of those people like who've been killing it at RevPro, where there's obviously a connection and stuff like that. Hopefully they get a shot, either it's on a dark or whether it's on a pre-show or something like that for Wembley. But I definitely think that people watching wrestling is only good for wrestling. So again, if we get, I don't know, they've sold a shit ton of tickets. Yep. So yeah, we can only hope that if let's say 60,000 AEW fans go, and then 20,000 I've never seen wrestling before, but the tickets are £30, people go, and then I really enjoy that. Oh look, there's wrestling down my street. Oh look, there's wrestling down the road. You hope that kind of builds and it introduces to more and more people, because again, we all majority of us got into wrestling or became fans of wrestling because of WWE or because of TV wrestling.
Exactly. We'll touch on that in a minute. We these kind of sort of same things we said on the podcast, if we can get one new person that's never seen like an Ignite or a Carnage, or as you say, a Rev Pro Progress, and they go and watch it, and then they bring their kids, and then their kids are still going 10 years later or 20 years later, they're bringing their kids, and that lineage going through. That's what we hope to do here, and that's why we're keen on sort of sponsoring the British wrestling scene and hoping that we can just help them a little bit to get where they need to get to. But Dave, over to you for.
Yeah, Flash, obviously, as you pointed out, a lot of tickets have been sold for AEW's event at Wembley. I think there's a lot of fans that perhaps only really watch the WWE and AEW, but they've got an appetite to get into the UK scene. What is the best way for them to do it? Obviously, checking out, Facebook and social media, or is it YouTube? Well, what's the best way for UK fans to follow the product?
I think you've just kind of got to find something that's close to you. So like myself and Walbo, Mike Hitchman, we own a promotion down in Bristol called Pro Wrestling Chaos. Yeah. And we've just done a huge show last month in Yates, for us, a big show, whatever, over 400 people. And we had people traveling from London and coming down to that. But majority of those shows, they sell all the time, but they are local people that come to those shows, and then some people travel in. So I think support your local independent wrestling promotion, I think, because again, if they're good, you'll go there and you'll enjoy it, have a look who's on the show, see if there's anybody there that from on the posters and stuff like that. But my advice is just find something that's easy for you to get to, that looks like the graphics look professional, the videos look professional. Have a look on YouTube, have a look on Facebook, see if people are giving them reviews and ratings, see what people are saying online. And then if it looks all good, pop down and support it, because again, if it's easy for you to get to and then easy for you to get home, and you feel like you had a good night out, then you're more inclined of, hey, okay, we've done this a few times, this is really good. Have you heard there's a show an hour down the road? Have you heard there's a show 2 hours down the road? Have you heard there's a show in France? There's a show in Ireland, and then maybe people can build up to it. But again, it's like going to a gig, isn't it? You go to listen to music at your local, your club or pub, and then after you get a taste for it, maybe there's a bigger band down the road. You think, okay, maybe I'll travel a little bit for it. But yeah, support your local indies. I'd say check online, get the reviews, have a look who's on the posters, and just jump in with both feet.
Yeah, I was surprised at how many that we got. I mean, I'm based in Essex, Dave. You're up Birmingham way, right? Tipton way.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was surprised. Like I've got Ignite, which is an hour sort of that way to me. I've got Jurassic Pro Wrestling, which is in Harwich in Essex, which is like an hour the other way. So there is quite a lot for me to go in, which was quite nice. I mean, again, I was surprised. I was big on the independent scene. I wasn't big on the independent scene, but I was big going to the independent scene. I've done a few training classes when I was a kid and had one chin, and it certainly realised that I couldn't do it. I took one body slam once, and maybe that just killed me. It's a simple move like a body slam, and I realised that I was never going to be able to be a professional wrestler anyway. Hence why I'm doing podcasts. But Splash, we'll talk a little bit about some of the talent that you've worked with on the indies quick. I've read some of these names off, and to be honest, it's like a who's who of talent nowadays. I mean, you've had the Ospreys, Brian Cage, Zack Sabre Jr., Pete Dunne, Keith Lee, Riddle, and the Bucks. Now you see these guys nowadays, and they're all on, Zack Sabre Jr. is massive in Japan, Ospreys huge pretty much everywhere he goes. What was it like wrestling them? Could you tell then that they were destined to go where they were going now?
Yeah, I think Zach was always like, for us, a lot of us coming through, like the likes of me, Walbo, Mark Andrews, Pete Dunne, like he was that next generation above us. He was somebody that we looked to for advice.
Yeah.
And when we started doing those early attack shows, we brought him in and we wanted him in matches with us so we could learn from him and we could experience it. So he was always that kind of, I don't want to see the word mentor, but he was someone we looked up to, and you could always, for as far as we thought we could go, we always knew that Zach could go further because of just how good he was. And we always did think that once he got his shot or his chance, he would smash it. So when he got his shot at Noah, for example, we were like, he's going to kill this. And he did. And he went off to Japan. But Will has just always been this freak athlete. He's always just like he really has. You see, and then you'd see the way he was doing stuff 2 or 3 matches in. Like, I think it was like his 3rd match in where his partner broke his leg and then he just called half the match on the fly. And you just watch it and go, like, he was always almost like a 1 in a million from his generation. He was that one.
Yeah.
I think with him, it was always like, as long as his body held up, as long as he didn't get hurt, you knew that he was going to go off and he was going to create magic. And from the early days, he had so many different places. I know at one point there was like 3 or 4 different promotions asking about him before he picked and went to New Japan. So yeah, there was doubt really early on that he was somebody that was going places.
Yeah, he was, and I think he's done a video recently saying, because he just had an injury, and I think he's sort of saying that with his style and how he works, he may only have a good few years left. And I'm thinking, Jesus, you're younger than me. I'm 38. He's about 30 odd, and like the way because he's worked that style for so long, I suppose people don't really understand how much it takes it out of you. I mean, even your style, Flash, look, it must take it out when you say more than say a heavyweight would, because the amount of work you actually do.
Yeah, well, I guess it's all subjective, isn't it? Because again, even though a heavyweight probably doesn't take as many moves as me, heavier than me, and if he's doing a lot of running, that's a lot of impact on his knee.
Yeah,
like look at Undertaker, for example. Degree of taking loads of stuff, but like the man's hip short and the man's knees are good. And then Flair, you hear about Flair doing these hour-long matches where he just got thrown around for like an hour, but yet he's never had a knee replacement, never had a hip replacement. So again, in regards to Will, I think Will is just understanding and realizing that he's getting older. I don't believe that he's got a finite amount of time. If you know how he wrestles now, he's definitely changed that style. I think he will just evolve into what he's going to become. Again, I'm old. I'm old. I'm a little bit older than Will, whatever. But again, I'm starting to feel it. I'm 2 shoulder surgeries in, and he hasn't had any surgeries, thankfully. But I do think he's getting to that stage now with this. I think this has been his first proper big injury where he's had to take time out in a while.
Yeah.
And I think he's at an age now where I think he is going, maybe my body doesn't feel like it did 5 years ago. And it's like, it's not good. But I think he's such an exceptional talent. He'll just evolve into something else. And I have no doubt that even though he thinks maybe he's going to have to tone it down, doesn't know how long he's going to be able to do it, I think it'll be, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this version of Will Ospreay. I think he'll still be doing it in 10, 15 years and he'll be putting on incredible matches, but he would have just evolved into something completely different.
Exactly. Dave, before we start one of the games, you got anything else to add?
Yeah, Flash. I know you said that you're really happy at the minute doing the training, and that's, obviously you get a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction from that. But in terms of your wrestling career, is there anything that you want to achieve? Are there any dream opponents? What is your ideal situation, or perhaps your ideal company to work for? Is there any talents out there that you like? I've never worked with this guy, and I'd love to have a one-on-one match with him.
I think there's so many people out there that I would love to have like one-on-one matches with. Like, of course, not that I'm at a point where I think I would get this, whatever. But of course, what I think the best wrestler in the world is Daniel Bryan. So if I ever got to mix it up with him in any form, I love that. Of course, I have wrestled the Bucks, but never ever been in a match with Omega or anything like that. So like matches with them would be absolutely incredible. But as for like goals, whatever, what I would like to do, I've done. Was it 19 countries I've wrestled in or whatever? I want to tick up a lot more, but the one country I've never wrestled in is Japan. I would love to do Japan. And Mark Andrews have said this a few times or whatever. He's got a lot of stuff going on at the moment. I've got a lot of stuff going on at the moment. There's been like not Japan, but there's been other stuff that's kind of come our way recently that hasn't, which would have been cool to do, which we haven't been able to line up and they wanted us to the team, but we've got other stuff going on at the moment. So Japan. And of course, those 2 wrestlers I said, but there is so many wrestlers, especially British. I haven't wrestled Ricky Knight Jr. I haven't wrestled Nico Angelo. Like, I'd love to get in and wrestle these guys, and like Luke Jacobs, Ethan Allen, stuff like that. I'd love to have matches with those, and I haven't. So that would be great to do. But for me, like those two, Omega, Brian, would be great to do, and I'd love to do Japan.
So Tony Khan, if you're watching this, he's just said he wants to take on Omega and Danielson. Can you make it happen at all in?
And if you sort out a way for me to go to Japan, that'd be great as well. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, we can sort out Forbidden Door as well. That'd be great. Yeah, you'd like to wrestle there. Right, we're gonna get on to one of the games. So one of the first games that we play is word association. I'll play it. Dave, you can have a go this time as well. It's your first time. I'll give you a name of a wrestler, and you just give us the name, word, sentence that comes into your head when I mention Z name. The first name on the list is actually, Walter or Gunther, as we now know him as.
Chops.
Yeah. What was you going to say, Dave?
Stiff.
I'm going to say, well, it's a sentence probably, but within 12 to 18 months, that guy needs to be world heavyweight champion. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. I followed actually his career in the Indies as well prior to WWE, so I've known about him for a long time. And yes, those chops sound hard. Pete Dunne,
the best. I believe that he is, as much as I think that Will is incredible. And I think Saber's incredible. I do believe that Pete Dunne is the best of our generation. I really do. I just think he needs that opportunity to show it.
Yeah.
So,
Dave?
Yeah, Bruiserweight, but such a nice guy. I had the fortune of meeting him a few years ago at a Fight Club Pro show with my nephew, and he was so accommodating, so friendly. Couldn't do enough for him. So, yeah, great guy from when I met him.
Yeah, I'm going to use the word, and it's only because where he is at the moment, where he's just underutilized. He's great what he's doing in the Brutes, but I just want to see him branch out and become Pete Dunne again, and become that guy that breaks all your fingers and does everything that what he done in the Indies, which is great. That's where I want him to go. We've already touched on it. Mark Andrews,
partner, yeah, partner.
Yeah, Dave.
It's similar to you, Flash. Exciting style, high flying. Very exciting to watch. I think some of the tag teams out there now, the likes of Top Flight and the Lucha Brothers and the Bucks. I think you two mixing it up with them would be some great matches.
Certainly would. I was going to say high flyer, but yeah, you've kind of taken that. So well done, Dave. Thanks for taking mine in a way. Will Ospreay.
Athlete, he's incredible, isn't he? Just what he can do is he's just an absolute specimen of an athlete.
Dave?
Yeah, unique or franchise. He just seems so different to anybody else that perhaps I've ever watched, to be honest. The match with Kenny earlier on in the year was just sensational.
I'm going to pick a phrase that he uses very well. And he actually, what I've realised today, funny enough, is he doesn't live that far from me, is bruv. Because that's what he says on his promos, which always makes me laugh. Someone else that you fought before that I rate very highly, Tommaso Ciampa.
Nice. I say nice. And I say this because I believe that sometimes when people become more famous, some people when the more fame they get, they become dicks. whereas Ciampa got nicer as he become more famous. So I'd say, never saying he wasn't nice, but I'd say he's really, really, really nice now. So I'd say that he got a lot nicer as the fame went on.
Right, Dave.
DIY.
I was going to say one of the greatest feuds that I've ever witnessed in the WWE for a while was him and Gargano when they split, and the way that they done it at NXT and how that carried on was fantastic. And there's rumors that they're redoing DIY once Ciampa's back, and he had that really bad neck injury as well. So hopefully he'll come back as healed as he can be, and they'll reform that, which would be great. Another one that I know me and Dave really like, which you've also fought, Flash, was Tommy End.
Kicks. My God, if you don't watch out for that spinning heel kick, he'll get you. But if I didn't do kicks, it would be cardio, because that man it was him. It was one of my first matches where I came back, and I was like the cop from Superbad, where he's being sick after chasing Evan Dunn. I was blown up, so he made me get better cardio. So I'll use the word cardio.
Cardio, Dave.
House of Black.
Yeah.
I've got to ask Flash, what do you make of Tommy's running AEW? And it seems like now he's going to feature a lot more heavily, you know, with the House of Black, obviously a trios champion. Do you think he's a potential world champion in AEW?
I think personally with him, he would have been a great person to have some feuds with Darby and stuff like that. I think he would have been great to slot in and do some TNT stuff and then build him up or whatever.
Yeah.
As much as the trios is fun, and whenever the pay-per-view stuff happens, they kill it. I do think that not having him as a contender, or at least had a run with the TNT, because I think he could have had some absolute belters with like Swerve, and he could have had some great ones with Darby and stuff like that. So yeah, I think they should have done that really, and I think they should have used that belt a bit better to prime up some people for the chase.
Well, we mentioned the TNT title last week, actually, didn't we, Dave? 2 weeks ago on the thing, and I actually mentioned the other one, which is the international one, which I can only describe as if you take your kids to the arcades and you pull down a lever, and whoever the amount of ticket show is the amount that you win. It's kind of like how they book it. Pull it down. Oh, it's going against him tonight. My thing for Tommy End was tattoos and kicks, because he's got some wicked tattoos as well and some amazing kicks. So that kills that game. So we finished that game off for the evening. We'll move on to the final part of the show now, the final 15 minutes that we have. Flash, just tell everybody now what you're doing, where they can get you on socials, what events have you got coming up, where's your appearances going on, what are you doing?
So yeah, I've got a training school in Stoke, so that's where I currently am, because I live in Stafford and stuff like that. So I've got a training school in Stoke called the Barracks. So if anyone is looking to get into professional wrestling, give us a car going past. Give us a hit on social media. So that's Barracks Pro Wrestling. I'm really enjoying it at the moment. I think I did about maybe like 15 seminars since I've been released, which was 6 months. So I've got 2 more coming up, which are going to be announced over the next month or 2. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm back at 1PW with me and Mark on Boisterous Behavior for the Tag Team Championships. There's some other stuff in the pipeline, which I can't really talk about at the moment, which again, hopefully they'll come out soon. The other one I would say is go check out Attack, because Attack is back. That was really great. And go check out Pro Wrestling Chaos. I do believe that it was going to close, so it was owned by 3 wrestlers, Gideon, Jekyll, and Dave Mercy. If it wasn't for those 3, giving myself, Eddie Dennis, Wild Boar, the opportunities that we had and the feuds we had there, and just giving us a lot of freedom to be creative. If we hadn't had that run at Chaos, I don't think any of us would have been ready for where we went and what we did from there on. And in 2019, they decided to call it a day. It was still doing really well. They were still selling out every show they were doing, 250 tickets every month, sell out. And then Yate was selling 500 3 times a year. No issues with it. They were doing it, but they were just completely burnt out. They'd done it for 8 years or whatever. And I think life outside of it was kind of getting on, and they literally put in the group with all the roster, hey guys, we're looking to sell up. February, probably our last show. And within 30 seconds of them putting that up, I'd rang them. I was like, we want to buy it. He told me to think about it, told me to not be silly, to try to talk me out of it. In Bo having none of it. And then we purchased it in 2019. We're supposed to run our first show in April 2020, and unfortunately COVID hit and shut it all down. It came back last year, 2022. We sold out the first show, 250 tickets in 36 hours. We sold the second show out in 48 hours. Every show's been a sellout since then. We did Yate last month. And I do believe that we just have such a strong undercurrent of talent in this country that we had to give them a platform to be expressive, to be creative. Smoking Ace has got their start there as well, and they're absolutely killing it for us there at the moment. We saw Tate Mayfair's had a match with Wild Boar the other day, and some people came down and said they believe that this is the best version of Tate Mayfair's they've seen anywhere else. And these are people who've gone to Progress, gone to TNT. They believe this is the best version of him. So yeah, check out, if you become a pro wrestler, Barracks Pro Wrestling. If you are looking for an independent to check out Pro Wrestling Chaos. Search Chaos On Demand on Facebook. We're currently giving a month away free for our on-demand service. So use the code Chaos Club and jump in, have a look at it. It's down in Bristol. If you're nearby, come and get some tickets.
We're just making a code, Chaos Club.
Yep, capital letters. Yeah, get on it. Yeah, definitely get yourself a free cancelled anytime. So definitely go watch that show.
I love watching.
How many shows are you looking to run it per year, Flash? What's the ideal situation for you with Pro Wrestling Chaos?
So we sold season tickets. So we sold a season ticket, which again did very well. So I think so that was 10, I think I do believe 10 shows for the year. But we exclusive year, there's already another show that we have in the pipeline, which will be outside of the season ticket, which is potentially going to happen in August outside of Bristol. And I can't tell you where that is yet, but there's also some other shows I think we're going to add on. 10-year anniversary is in October. So I think we're going to add some other shows around that. So we could be looking at about 14 shows this year, potentially 14, 15.
Wow, brilliant. That's amazing.
Exciting time to be a wrestling fan, particularly in the UK.
Certainly is. Right, we're going to play the final game of the evening before we start wrapping up, which is it was taken up a Steve Austin podcast, but he hasn't trademarked it yet. So until he trademarks it, I can use it. It's called Shot Clock. Two things: we don't time it, and we certainly don't do shots while we do it. There's just a list of random questions. Again, these are wrestling-based questions as well, and just for you to answer, Dave to answer, and me to answer as well. What would be start off? Also, Dave, this would be a slight question we'd have to jig for us, but for you, Flash, what is the best arena that you've performed in wrestling-wise?
For me personally, I did love Takeover Cardiff. I loved the Motorpoint Arena. It was great to tick that off. But if I'm totally honest, the one that absolutely blew me away was Royal Albert Hall. I remember just sitting with my grandparents watching the Royal Variety Show when I was younger, and being there and walking in and be like, "This is the Royal Albert Hall. This is absolutely mental. This is where I'm going to wrestle." And my fiance was there and stuff like that. And my family and stuff like that was there, so that was great. So yeah, for me, Royal Albert Hall was the one.
Brilliant. So, Dave, slight change. What was the best arena you've been to watch wrestling?
Probably Madison Square Garden, just because of the prestige and, all the events that's happened there. And just as a wrestling fan, it's just so iconic. So yeah, I'd have to say MSG, I think.
I'm just going to go with my first event my first ever wrestling event I went to was SummerSlam 92. So I'm going to stick with Wembley, and obviously, hopefully, they'll repeat that when we go to All In. What's your favourite entrance music that a wrestler had? Now, this stumps a lot of wrestlers, to be fair. So.
I think that Jericho has just had the best entrance, like the best entrance music he's ever done. Yeah. So yeah, I think it definitely is Jericho's Break the Walls Down. I think it's definitely that one. But then he had that slight, like he just smashed it down. Remember when he had that King of My World when he came up?
Yeah, King of My World. Yeah.
And then he had, like, of course, Judas actually killing it as well at the moment. So I think it has to be Jericho's first one is Break the Walls Down. But then I also honorable mention for Shinsuke Nakamura's WWE theme as well. But I think Jericho for me is definitely the one.
It'd be interesting to hear us all sing that at Wembley as well. I bet you can't wait for that. Dave, what was your favourite?
I've always loved the Brood. Gangrel, Edge and Christian. I think that was the first show I went to in Birmingham, and it was called Attitude Adjustment Tour. And all three of them had a singles match, and it was like back to back to back. So it was like a real binge on that, and it just stuck with me, and I've always loved it ever since.
I'm actually going to keep with one of Brood. I've always loved Edge's music. So Alter Bridge was one of my favorites. I've got loads of tattoos for Edge. I've got the Brood and Rated R and stuff. So Edge would be my favorite. There is a lot of honorable mentions, as you can say. I've changed it up because I've had to answer this question quite a bit. So
now, and part of me is going like, I'm wrong. The answer is when the Glass the Stone Cold comes out. That's obviously the answer, isn't it?
Oh no, that is.
I think that is the greatest. I think that is the greatest entrance of all time.
I would say
my favorite Jericho's.
Yeah, I would also go on par and say The Undertaker, just because it's that whole. I still get goosebumps to this day when you hear that first gong, the lights go out, and it's just. I mean, I swear they turn the aircon off in that places when he comes out because unless you're probably because you're in the moment maybe and you could feel it. But yeah, that and the only one I don't particularly like, or the one that's made me shit myself enough, was Kane's. But it was when he used to have the pyro before the music. When he first went to Slow Chemical, I think it was, after he took his mask off, and he didn't have because he used to play that eerie music and then used to go into it. But when they changed it, there was two occasions where one was a house show when he's feuding with Matt Hardy, and it was going to be Matt Hardy and Lita against someone. I can't remember who they were going against. Lita had come out, and then they announced who her partner was, and this big orange ball literally just come off the floor, and it blew out, and like literally. when you don't expect it, they're bad. I've just what I've got to tell my son. I'm taking my son to Money in the Bank and SmackDown. His first show, he's 8 years old, and we're sitting quite near the entrance. So I've got the old noise cancelling headphones, and I've got to try and be like, right, get ready. But then, with like Kane, you can never get ready for it. So we've got most underrated talent, other than yourself, of course.
What, in the UK or
anywhere
in the world? In the world,
anywhere.
I've got to say Pete Dunne. I just think that people just don't know. Like, I think the people who know, but I think the people that, like, again, he's doing some fun stuff on SmackDown. You just hope really that he gets a run somewhere, whether that's AEW or WWE, where they really just kind of go like the Walter run. Like, you just kind of hope they go, okay, let's see that, because I honestly believe he's just absolutely incredible. So I think no matter, unless he is the world champion and everyone thinks he's the best wrestler in the world, I will always consider him to be underrated, because he is honestly an absolute genius when it comes to being in the ring.
Yeah. Dave, who's yours?
Probably Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
I think he's had a great career, don't get me wrong. But I think he could have had a better career, or I don't know. I think he's underrated. I think he always has a good match. He's very reliable. You can put him in there with anyone and he'll have a great match.
I'm going to go on a bit left field. Again, I've answered these questions quite a bit, so I do have to change my answer. And it's not because I don't think he isn't that great, but the British Bulldog son, Harry Smith Jr., is another one that I think is very untapped, especially in the bigger promotions. He's done well everywhere he's gone, but I think that there was something there with him that perhaps they didn't quite get. Best Joker that you've been, so best ribber, basically.
Joker.
Yeah.
I think this. Ryan Smile was quite the character to be around. So he always lit up a room and stuff like that. Sometimes at your expense, sometimes I want to kill him. But yeah, I'd say probably Ryan Smile.
I don't think we can answer this one, Dave, because we've never really been in a locker room, apart from the stories that you hear of, like Owen Hart was one of the greatest ribbers, I think, that we've never got the privilege of seeing, but was one of them. Unless you've got any more, Dave, that you've heard about.
I don't know if you know the Hunter brothers Flash.
Lee and Jim. Them two were literally, if I hadn't said Ryan, they were going to be under. But seriously, when I first got into wrestling, I must have met them 4 or 5 times, right? And each time I met them, they were like, "Oh, hi, I'm Jim and I'm Lee," or whatever. And you kind of, as a wrestler, you die a little bit inside. Like, I didn't make a lasting impression the last time we met. So you kind of, in my head, right, I really want them to remember my name and who I am and not have to introduce themselves. But somewhere along the way, they figured out that that's what I wanted. So now every time I see them, it's been 10 years now, I've wrestled them hundreds of times. They will always go, "Hi, I'm Jim and I'm Lee," every single time. So it would be next on my list.
Yeah, I was with them at the weekend. Great guys. Both really funny, wicked sense of humour.
We've got them. I think we're getting them on the show soon, Dave, right? You're sorting that out.
Yeah, hopefully they're going to come on in June.
Great, excellent. The last question, and Dave kind of stole this one early doors, but I'm going to change it slightly now, because you asked about people that Flash would like to work with, but I'm going to change it up. So this is your dream match, but it's a fatal 4-way, past, present, or even future. Who would it be? If you know someone that you're working with, maybe that you could.
I'll be honest, right? So my favorite wrestler is Eddie Guerrero of all time. He's my favorite.
Brilliant. And love him.
When he won the WWE Championship and he jumped in the crowd with all his friends, like when we won the tag team championships and we got the feed of jump in the crowd and we could get in the crowd, it was like a full circle moment to me, because when he jumped in the crowd at No Way Out, I was like, I want to be a wrestler. This is what I want to do. So to become the first Welsh champions and then do it in Wales, in our hometown, and jump in the crowd, it was like a proper full circle. So he would definitely be on that list. It's such a hard one, isn't it? Because then, do I throw this into like? I guess if I had to say, and I don't think this 4-way would be any good in any way, shape, or form, because I think it's gonna be a mixture of people. It's just difficult. So it would either be. So I think it would be Eddie number 1. Shawn Michaels in his prime would be number 2. And when I say prime, I'm talking when he came back after his back.
02, wasn't it? 02, 03?
Yeah, I personally think that was him at his best, because I think what Bret Hart had back in the 90s, Shawn lacked. And when he came back in the early 2000s, he had what Bret had, and he had that perfect combination. So that's Shawn Michaels. And then the third then would either be Daniel Bryan, because I think he is one of the greatest of all time, or just because I think the man was an absolute heat magnet. And I, again, got to meet him, got to speak to him, and he gave me some great advice. Roddy Piper would be the third. When I met him at WrestleMania 30, and the cameraman had to change over his film. And that's the only regret I have in wrestling is I never got to meet Eddie Guerrero. But the second one was I got to meet Shawn and got to work with Shawn. I wish because again, we did WrestleMania and I got to meet all these legends.
Yeah.
I wish I got to meet Roddy after I'd signed, because he gave me some great advice. He turned and said to me while the camera was fixed, and said, I'm a wrestler. I'm want to get to the WWE. And he said to me, you're small. He's like, they're going to tell you that you can't do it. And whoever tells you, you've just got to stick it to him. And you've just got to stick it to him. And I was like, nodding along, going, oh, thanks. And he got really intense, looked me in the eyes. He went, no, I'm being deadly serious here. He was like, no matter who tells you, you can't do it. He's like, fuck him. He was like, you have to go after it. He was like, it's yours. Don't let him tell you no.
Wow.
And so intense, like, man, with goosebumps, like that. And then the camera guy came back and said, pictures, and like, just smiled it off. We went. But I'd love to have, when I got signed into me, like at WrestleMania, I would have loved to have just had a 2-second conversation with him. Like, you probably don't remember this, but we had a conversation in New Orleans 4 years ago, and now I'm here. But that would have been, so let's say it'd be Eddie, Shawn, and Piper.
That'd be great. That would be amazing. I've met Eddie. I did. I went to sorry. It was literally I'll tell the story. It's got a bit of time. WrestleMania 21 in Los Angeles. We'd done something stupid. It was my first holiday away from the parents. It was just me and 4 of my friends. We went over there. We done something stupid, like we had a crossover in Germany, so we went backwards to come forwards. It was about 14-hour flight, and we landed. We got to a hotel. We had Denny's. It was like literally had a Denny's onto our hotel on the strip of LAX, and we saw there was appearances at 6, and this was about 12, and it was 6 to 8, and it was Eddie Guerrero over at Toys R Us. So we took a chance. We got there. We saw the queue, and we thought, yeah, we ain't gonna get no chance here, because it just looked good. There was like 500 tickets. And she literally got to us and went 496, 497, 498, 499, 500. So we were literally the last 5 people in this queue. So it was like, at this point, we're buzzing. We're like, wow, we've just got here. This is going to be amazing. The signing was happening, and it was getting to, it was like 7:45, 10 to 8, and we're still not in this door yet. And we're like, oh, she's come out. And so we get to the door, and it's literally, I don't know, 3 minutes past 8. She went, look, he's run over. We've got to go and ask him if he's okay to, wrap it up with there's about a dozen of us left. We were just in, we could see him on, and she's walked up to him and she's asked him the question. He's looked up, he's got on the table, stood up on this table. He's done his little shoulder jig, and I'll try my best. We got on that essay, is what he said. And literally at that point, like you can imagine like a pop at that point, even with 12 people there, was just amazing. But yeah, he was a wonderful to meet Eddie. Dave, what would be your fatal 4-way?
My fatal 4-way.
Go for it. I've got to write mine down.
Oh man. So a UK one, probably. Am I wrestling in this? Because
no. I'm
gonna get battered.
No, don't worry.
Yeah, a UK fatal 4-way. Pete Dunne, Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, and Flash.
There you go. Flash was in that one. I'll give you some bad news, Flash. You're not in mine, but mine isn't UK based. So I've done Omega, Angle, HBK, and Gunter.
Oh,
yeah. I could just imagine Sean selling the chops from Gunter would be quite incredible. Guys, we're gonna wrap it up quickly. I need to just do a couple of announcements before we go. Guest announcements. Obviously, we've had Flash tonight, and it's been fantastic. Next Tuesday, we've got Martin Stone, another English wrestler, coming on. He's doing his redemption, starting his redemption, as he put it himself. So we're looking forward to chatting to him. Next Wednesday, we've got Brian Kendrick. It's going to come and chat to us next Thursday, Dave. We've obviously got the Dynamite review. We also, after that, chat with Bobby Fish. And then straight after Bobby Fish, and I think you mentioned him earlier on, we've got Zach Zodiac, or Ricky Knight Jr., joining us to talk British wrestling and maybe Saraya. We've got another UK talent joining us on the 16th. His name is Taylor James. He works for Ignite. He's done all the Ignite shows. That is more of a buckle up chat about our show. On the 18th, we've got Just Incredible. So we're going to have an ECW show on the 18th. On the 21st, we sit down. Well, we say sit down. He's going to be at his pool on his birthday. It's an NWA wrestler called AJ Kazana. Will be joining me and Fiona. On the 23rd of May, we have EC3 joining us. Again, another NWA champion. And finally in May, because I'm not going to carry on in June, we've got the bloke that managed to piss off CM Punk at the All Out press conference, Nick Houseman, joining us, which should be fun. Just quickly, Pro Wrestling Carnage are doing their show on Sunday. Good luck to those guys. Good luck to Beers and Beatdowns. They have just sent me the concept design of our T-shirt that we're doing in partnership with them. I can't wait to get that. We'll be looking forward to receiving that. We've also sponsoring a dart player, Matt Cast. He's got the Windmill Challenge starting tomorrow and all over the weekend. So good luck, Matt. Bring it home for us and hopefully get your tour card next year for the PDC. I'm going to take a breath and then I'm going to thank Flash for your time this evening. It's been wonderful to speak to you. Good luck with everything you do. I did see some of those bumps you took at at 1PW, sorry, last time. It looked pretty sick from my point, but it's great to see you back in the ring again and great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us today.
No, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it, guys.
No worries, Dave. I will see you next Thursday. So, guys, this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I'll get it right. I've been your host, Adam Cousins, with the Dynamite Man, Dave DMD. That has been Flash Morgan Webster, and we will wish you a good night.